Governor, what's your reaction to the Vermont Mental Health Association's decision to cut ties to the state's Futures Project?
I'm disappointed because later today there will be an announcement by the Commissioner of Mental Health about the further implementation of the Futures program. I should say at the outset that I'm disappointed, as disappointed as anyone at the pace of getting to the future. It was 5 or 6 years ago that I said we've got to close the state hospital in Waterbury and deploy a different array of resources to help our neighbors who are suffering from mental illness. And I've been disappointed that the process hasn't been more expeditious. But we do have a plan. It's a secure residential facility in Waterbury and some other resources around the state, and I think we ought to continue to move in that direction.
How would you grade your administration's handling of the state hospital issue?
I think we've done a good job. One of the first things I did right after taking office was propose a budget adjustment that had an increase of 22% perhaps in the budget of the state hospital to give it the resources it needed. It had been starved, to be perfectly honest, before I took office, and one of my first acts budgetarily was to upgrade the resources there and give them the support they need to run a good hospital. As you know, the hospital was decertified by the federal government. We've been working hard ever since then to gain recertification, and we'll continue to work in that direction. We have to. We're losing $8 or $9 million a year in Medicaid funds because it's not Medicaid eligible now. But I think we've done a good job. It's been difficult achieving a consensus with the mental health advocacy community on what direction to go, but we have a futures plan, and I think we're going to get there.
Did you expect the hospital to maybe be closed by the time you left office?
I hope so, to be perfectly honest. We had a number of ideas that haven't panned out, as I'm sure you know, both in terms of subacute facilities and other resources, but we've got some great partners with whom we've been talking over the last year or two, and I think Commissioner Hardman makes a presentation later today. You'll have a lot of information on the clarity of our plan and how we're going to pay for it.
You say that you think that the department and the administration has done a good job on the state hospital, but I have a hard time squaring that with the difficulty of getting recertified. Every 6 months or a year, it seems as though there's, well, we're almost certainly going to get recertified, and then the deadline comes and there's some other problem. How do you explain that in your own mind?
Because the federal government, to be perfectly honest, keeps moving the goalposts. And I've expressed my frustration directly and strongly to officials at the Department of Health and Human Services about the fairness, the lack of fairness in the way that we've been treated.
How much state support is, or how much support financially is the state going to put behind this plan? Because that seemed to be what was derailing, I know, at least interest in Rutland, not being able to secure outside financing without state support. Is that going to be more detailed today in terms of?
I don't want to get ahead of the Commissioner's presentation, but